Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm here with Toni, my lovely friend. She lives in Austin and she has a really, really interesting occupation or job or whatever you would call it. It could always be almost be a calling, though I never asked you about that actually, whether you think of it as a calling. She's a pet minder. And I think that is such a great job to also talk about our concepts and ideas we have about work and how to earn money and how to live and how to integrate your hobbies, so to speak, with your work life. So let's start. Toni, could you just maybe start by telling us a little bit about yourself, like a tiny little background?
Sure. Yeah, I do. I live in Austin, Texas. I moved here about 10 years ago, and the move was prompted by me exiting from a corporate world job. I was more of a what you would call a digital type corporate person. I worked with an online lead generation company.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I worked for a very large, well-known international company where I was a sales rep and then a sales manager that sold, if some of you probably won't even know what this is, but we sold something called Yellow Pages,
Oh no.
which is the book that you looked up people that you wanted to do business with. And in the time that I did that, and about, gosh, probably 7 or 8 years ago, that business went away when digital came along. So I made that transition into an online sales. Very, very different than pet sitting and dog walking for sure.
I bet it is. So tell us, how did that happen?
Well, the interesting thing about it is I was at an age in my life where I still knew I was going to have a few years that I wanted to work. I just, it was just a little early for me to quote unquote retire. And everybody has their own idea of what that is, but I just still wanted to be in the workforce for about 10 years. So when I came here, and that was part of the move too, is thinking if I don't go ahead and move now, once I get to that age, I will probably be sorry that I didn't do that. So I went ahead and made the move without a job.
Wow.
And came here and began to look in similar areas, sales, marketing, those types of things. And Austin is a very tech, very digital city, which is good, but it's also got a lot of people in that pool that are looking for that. And they're a lot younger than me by, 20 to 30 years. So, it was a little hard to get into that. But the jobs that I did end up doing, I just couldn't do them anymore. It was one of those things where my inner work had come to meet the outer world, and they just were not, they weren't meshing anymore. And I was feeling a lot of anxiety and the feeling that I just don't want to do this anymore. The idea of the pressure of sales and the objectives and, all of that. I just felt this, oh, I don't want to do this. So I ended up doing some part-time work, and then this part-time job turned into a full-time job as a manager of an office. And I was like, oh my God, this is the last thing in the world I really wanted to do. So I know, it was crazy. And then at that job, they started, this gentleman was kind of phasing his business out. He lost a couple of clients. So he started laying people off. And I thought, I'm not going to get myself in a position to where I come in one day and get a pink slip like everybody else around me. It ended up that I was the only full-time person that he wanted to keep. And I was the only person that really did not want to stay there. So I thought, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? So really just out of just self-preservation, I guess, I thought, I should start looking for something different. Just so that if this, he cuts my hours or he closes this, I'll have something. And so I was just scrolling through a neighborhood app on my phone one day, and this pet sitter job popped up. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Pet sitting. And I'll backtrack a little bit. What I had done is I sat down and said, I have no idea what I want, but I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to sit in an office all day. I didn't want to do all of those things. But then I started thinking, well, then that means I want to be outside more. I want to have more flexibility. I want to really enjoy what I do. I want to have more freedom, so those kind of things. And when I looked at that, yeah. And when I looked at that, I was like, what is this? So I had no idea, but I just said, look, I don't know what this is, but it's yours. You show me. And within like a 2-week period, probably less than that, this job post came up. So I thought, well, how old is this? So I looked at it, and it had only been up for 5 hours, because I don't go on that app very often. I was just kind of flipping through, right? So I contacted the woman, and we met for coffee and just hit it off great. And so what the situation is she has the business. She has a website and really, really, really good organic placement. She's been here in Austin for a while, and she has sitters in different parts of the city. So what she does is when the jobs come in, she pushes them out to the people that are in that area. And if we're interested and available, then it's up to us if we want to take the job. So I started doing it part-time, and I probably did it for maybe 3 months, and I was turning jobs down, and I had overnight jobs start to come in, and I started, kind of looking at both of them, and I thought, if I wasn't doing this job, I could take more of this other, and I know I could make at least as much as I was making. So that's what I did. I decided to just step off and try it. And I even got my Uber certification and all that, because I thought, just in case if jobs, are a little bit slow, I've got a fallback. I can do some driving just to kind of kick in some cash. And, I never had to do that. I never, ever had to do that. It just took off. And I've been doing this now for about, I'm going on my 4th year, and I have a huge client base. So when you get to this point in this type of business, your base keeps you busy most of the time. Like I really don't need new clients. If I take new clients and really worked like I have for the past, before the pandemic year, I could work 7 days a week if I wanted to. I mean, the business is there. So that's really kind of how it came about.
That's amazing. I mean, the thing that first came to my mind when I heard about your job, I don't think I ever told you, it's like back when I think I was 11, and I was really into horses, like girls are at that age. And because our parents weren't being reasonable, a friend of mine had decided we want to buy a pony. So we started, of course. So we started to save up money and started to do odd jobs. And then one day my friend came, and she landed something, and she was really proud. And she said, oh, there's this woman, and she's got 2 dogs, and she's giving us money for taking the dogs out. And I know that at the time I was thinking, and I was only 11, I was thinking, hang on, that can't be right, because my whole life experience had been that for doing something with animals, I would have to pay, or maybe somebody would allow me to clean their horses.
Yes.
What you do when you're small. And I thought that was really weird. And I remember I even felt bad about it in a way, because after, I mean, we actually went, we walked that dog like for months. And by the end of it, and with some other jobs, we had earned quite a lot of money. So
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing. It was great. But I was feeling so weird, and I was only a kid. So, but did that, I mean, you said you were already feeling you weren't a match to doing what you had been doing, and you
Mm-hmm.
already had that clear idea that you wanted to do something where you're outside and everything. Um, I mean, it is work. It is hard work, obviously, on a level. But did that ever
Yes.
kind of get in the way, or did you feel that it was like a complete switch where you realized, hey, I'm actually allowed to do something that is more feels more whatever fun or more fulfilling, or just is a
Yeah.
nicer way to earn your dough?
Well, I'll tell you, I probably looked like a goofball when I first started walking dogs because, and I still do. I've just got this grin on my face as I'm walking because it occurs to me sometimes, oh my God, people are paying me to do this, and yes, I mean, it's not all great. There are dogs that are just a little harder to handle.
Mm.
There are older dogs, but I kind of have a soft spot for them. I really love the little dogs that have the gray on their face. I think I just kind of relate to them a little bit. And so, at first and I guess you always take what you've learned in the past into and bring it forward. So all of my professionalism that I used in sales and being on time and keeping a business calendar and understanding how to track, money and for taxes and all
Mm.
that. And I was an insurance agent for a little while when I came to Austin, which that was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this at all. But I was an independent contractor,
Mm.
so it helped me to understand
Yeah.
that side of it. Because I had the idea that I wanted to not be in an office and not have that 8 to 5 paycheck. I knew that, but finding the right fit, and pet sitting would have never, ever, ever been on my radar. I mean, not for 1 second. If it were up to me, I would have never thought of it. So this truly
Mm.
is when you put intention out there and you are very clear with what you want and you
Mm.
let that step of allowing to
Mm.
happen, not get in the way, not try to figure out what might be the best fit or what should be coming to you. Just kind of let it go. It's amazing what comes and how quick it comes, because that's exactly what this is. And it's and at first I was a little tense just because that's kind of how I am, with working. I just want to do the best job. But I figured out that these little critters are, they're different than humans. They don't judge you when you walk in the door. They're not upset because you got here 30 minutes earlier yesterday or, whatever.
Mm.
I mean, they're just happy and they just want to go for a walk, and they're so happy to get their little treat at the end. And so it probably took me, I would say, probably about 6 months to really feel absolutely comfortable and be able to just totally enjoy every day on my job. And the side
Mm.
benefits are, I live in a city where we have beautiful weather all year round. People have a lot of money, they have beautiful houses, and
Mm.
they travel a lot. And they love their pets. I mean, we're probably much more of an international city, kind of like European cities or the
Yeah.
coastal
Yeah.
cities, East and West Coast here.
Yeah.
Austin is more like that, except it's very laid back, very, very laid back. So the people are just amazing. And in all the sales jobs I've had in all of my life, I've never felt more appreciated. I've never been compensated more fairly, and just had delight with
Mm.
my human clients and my pet clients. And I don't just do dogs and cats. I mean, here in Austin, you're allowed to have chickens if you want in your backyard. So I take care of chickens. I've taken care of a chinchilla. I've taken care of a rat, a ginormous turtle. I mean, a big, big turtle that these people had in a cage in their backyard that I would let out in the morning and then put him back in at night. Snakes, I mean, you name it. I've pretty much taken care of whatever. So it's kind of fun because, you know, you get exposed to a lot, but then also it is a beautiful city and beautiful neighborhoods with hills. And so I got in great shape. I mean, you know, for my age, which I won't mention what it is, but I will say I'm very close to the normal retirement age in the US. I'm in pretty decent shape. You know, I just can walk and, you know, be able to climb hills, and did a trip to Peru and went up an incline about like this to climb a mountain. And, you know, it was just my lungs and the altitude. The legs were fine. So, you know, there's those side benefits, the health, the just
absolutely.
being out, you know. And even during COVID, you know, my job was outside and I don't have to wear a mask, you know. So it's great. I mean, this last year, you know, I've been hit like everybody else. So I just kind of laugh and say, well, I feel like I'm semi-retired, and that's okay too. You know, it's all just been very good. And I've not had to, you know, I've just not stressed over anything. No stress about Mondays anymore. As a matter of fact, I forget sometimes what day of the week it is. So I have to check my phone so I can check my calendar to know what I've got going on that day. Or I might just think it's Thursday when it's Friday, or vice versa. So, so yeah, it's just been, it's truly been a blessing. And I have met some wonderful, wonderful people.
I'm sure. Actually, that's on a side note. Do you think that the whole positiveness of it has to do with that you're actually dealing with some creatures in that case, but with something that the people who pay you are actually passionate about, that they really feel something for? It's not like the yellow pages that you know, it's kind of a completely different level of operating in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, totally different. Because in Yellow Pages, you know, the way that business was run, you sometimes felt like you were on kind of an adversarial, even though you weren't fighting each other, but, you know, with rates and discounts and things, clients wouldn't understand. They get frustrated. They get, you know, mad because it costs too much. And, you know, I never have to haggle with anybody about anything. Our rates are totally upfront. And if they don't want to do it, then it just doesn't, they just, usually it doesn't go any further. Like the lead doesn't get pushed out because all of that is up front. So yeah. And I tell you, you know, I love children. I absolutely love children. I have 2 more or less grown grandchildren and hope to have more little babies someday. However, I would never, ever be a nanny. I've raised my kids. I want to spend time with my grandkids. And so it's altogether different with pets even. I mean, people, I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, they are so appreciative of someone that they can count on. And when I do overnights, you know, it's pet sitting, house sitting. So I just kind of keep the house occupied. It gets very, very hot here in the summer. So I can keep their herb gardens and their plants going, and, you know, make sure their swimming pool doesn't sit idle for too long. You know, I make sure that I get those swims in, and, you know, those kinds of things. So, you know, it's really, it's really nice in that way. But that I'd never thought about that at all. But that is very, very true.
Yeah, lovely. Well, I think really, unless you have anything else you want to share about, I mean, it's amazing. It's a lovely job, and it's definitely better than sitting in an office. And I just, maybe add that I've had so many people that I'm familiar with are trying to do things like start an animal sanctuary or something like that. And but don't have the money or don't have the opportunity. And I always say to them, why don't you become a pet sitter first?
Well, and I tell you
it's kind
what,
of a good way, isn't it, to start?
it is. And I tell you, were I younger, um, I would probably start this business myself, to where I was the one that, because what we end up doing is we pay her, the lady that sends us the leads, we give her, depending upon our jobs and what we've agreed upon, we pay her a percentage. So she can kind of cherry pick what she wants to do. And she doesn't do any overnights anymore. She's a couple of years older than I am. But to stay healthy and to keep a little bit of money coming in, on her own, she does her dog walks, but she's been able to kind of go semi retired. But she has the income of about 6 different setters that might be anywhere from 200 or 300 all the way to 600 per month, depending upon the time of year. So that is the way to go, and I would highly recommend that. The startup would be extremely inexpensive. You just need a good website. There is a Pet Sitters Association that provides all of the guidance and also the insurance for it. So really, for very, very, very little, you could start up, and I would say within a couple of years, have a very robust business and go. And then, you could on the side or start putting money away for that sanctuary at some point. I mean, there's, the sky's the limit. And you could do your sanctuary and just let everybody else do all the pet sitting while you took care of the animals in the way that you want to. You just need to be in a city that would support that. So a large city would be, I would say you would probably need, probably a couple of 100,000 at least of where you live. But again, I think it just kind of depends. And if you live in a small place, but the need is there, you might be able to just stay in one area and do most of the business yourself. I mean, you can really do what you want to do. I mean, that you can make this business what you want. And one of the things that I want to do in the next probably 2 years, when I start traveling a lot, when I really stop working in this way and start traveling, is I want to use this as a means to do that. And I don't know if people are aware of this or not. Probably some are, but many are not. There are several companies that you can contact online that connect international clients and pet and house sitters. So if, let's say, I wanted to come and
something like Workaway, or is it more specialized?
Well, it's like a house sitters international type thing. So, but it's really really what they're needing is someone to stay in their house. They might have a cat or a couple of dogs, or they might even have a place out in the country where they have a goat and some chickens and a couple of dogs, and they're wanting to travel. So the idea is, if you come and take care of their pets, your cost to stay is nothing. So that would allow someone like me to be able to extend their travel dollars, because I could get into a country or a city and be in a place where I could really kind of live in someone's home and kind of get into that and get used to it. And then I could travel a little bit and then bounce over to another job. So it can, to me, I visualize it as cutting my expenses for staying places probably a third to a half, because I can extend my time in a place without having to pay the most expensive thing, which is what? The cost of, where you're gonna stay at night. And it's cheaper
Excellent.
too, because you're staying in a place where you can cook, you know, so you're in someone's home and you're comfortable in that way. So it really cuts that down. So, you know, that might be a future video whenever I actually start doing
Yeah,
that,
that
and
would
I
be
can
lovely,
speak
Toni.
on
You have
that.
to
Yeah,
come and
yeah,
stay here.
I will. Hey, I will. That is, I
Yeah.
definitely want to do that. So I will be spending some time in Germany and that part of the world for sure.
I can't wait to see you again in person, dear.
I
It would be
know, I
lovely.
know,
Okay,
I
thank
know.
you so much for doing this interview. And that was so informing and really helpful. And I loved it to hear the whole story in one go. Thank you so
Well,
much.
yes, you're welcome. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to just kind of speak. I mean, really, this is the most freedom and happiness I've ever had on a job. And I've worked since I was 18 years old.
Hmm.
So, you know, the thing that I just want people to know is you can do it anytime if you want to. Just be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid. And that there is so much truth in that.
Oh, thank you so much. Let's finish on that. Very
You're welcome.
inspiring. Thank you, Toni. Bye
You're
bye.
welcome. Bye bye.